Hi, Pastor Gallagher here. Welcome to the Victory Hour here on YouTube. This ministry is brought to you by the Lord's people at Clavel Assembly in Foster, Rhode Island. Our website is clavelassembly.com. If you want to email me and contact me, info@clavelassembly.com. Or you can write to me, the Victory Hour, or you can address it to Clavel Assembly. Either way, it's P.O. Box 222, Foster, Rhode Island, 02825. Listen, we've been talking about the insane condition of our nation. In fact, the whole world today. As I've been saying, someone hit the stupid button. And now we're running headlong towards globalism, Marxism, fascism, anti-Christianity, you name it. Up and down the chart, it doesn't look good. And I've been asking the question, well, why is that? What are men trying to achieve? Well, in the end, what they want is power. They're looking to consolidate power, and then there'll be a fight over who gets to have the control. And this has been going on from the beginning. Has it not? I'd like to read for you from Isaiah 14. I want to show you the magnitude, just a small portion of the magnitude of their hunger for power on today's program. And it's not a pretty picture, but you got to remember, in the end, God is sovereign and the Lord is in control. And he sees all that happens. Of that, you can be guaranteed. But this revolution is as old as the hills. I'm reading from Isaiah chapter 14, starting at verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? See, Satan's always been about deceiving the nations, weakening them through deception. Jesus said to the Jews that were haranguing him in John chapter 8, he said, you're of your father the devil. You can't believe the truth because, well, you're of the father, your father is the devil, and he's a liar and was a liar from the beginning. And so you can't receive the truth because you're cut out of his mold. That's what Jesus was saying. Go read about it in John chapter 8, in Jesus' own words. I mean, that's my paraphrase, but some of that paraphrase are partial quotations. I'm just giving this quick off the cuff. But, Satan's been at this business a long time, looking to congregate and consolidate power in order to promote evil, just like all of our leaders, not just in the United States. I don't mean all, but so many of our leaders. And that's true of so many nations throughout the world. Well, this was Satan's full-time job, to deceive the nations. How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, and this is what Lucifer, Satan, said in his heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Well, those efforts started, as we know from the record in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden. The consolidation of power in order to harness it for the cause of evil, that is what Satan was always all about, and that's what so many of our leaders are all about. Wonder where they get their inspiration from. It's not good. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, we'll go there as well. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Now, it's a little bit complicated at this point to explain 2 Thessalonians contextually to you, because I haven't gotten into the subject of the parousia, which I'm thinking of I'll begin to get into it either Thursday of this week or next Monday. Depends on how it goes today. See? I want to start getting into that subject, and boy, that's going to blow you away. But in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, the Apostle Paul writes, "Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him." So this is the parousia, coming of the Lord. "That ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us." It wasn't actually from Paul, that letter. It was fake news. Paul didn't write it. "Nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means." And that means that the day of Christ is now present, as if it's already arrived. That's what these phonies were saying. "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, the parousia, coming of the Lord, the day of the Lord, the day of judgment and wrath and salvation, that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first." Now that's talking about an apostasy amongst the Christians. "Unless there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Now the man of sin is inspired and empowered by Satan, as we know, eschatologically. And the next verse, verse 4, speaking of the man of sin being revealed, the son of perdition, "who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Well, it sounds like that's a description of Satan over there in Isaiah 14. Well, that's right. And the same thing is true for the man of sin, who is empowered and inspired by Satan. So you see, this drive towards global domination and the concentration of power in the end to promote evil and anti-Christianity has been around since, well, this world has been around. And it's with us to this day. In Revelation chapter 20, now you really need a context to understand what I'm driving at in Revelation 20, but I'm not going to give that to you now because there's other fish to fry before we can get to Revelation 20 when we're talking eschatology, the parousia, the second coming of Christ. But let me just take a couple of verses out of context, not out of context, but, well, in a sense out of context, but let's just see the principle that's laid out here, okay? So Revelation chapter 20, verse 7. "And when the 1,000 years are expired," right? So Satan is bound for 1,000 years. "When the 1,000 years is over, then Satan is released from his prison to bring tribulation on the saints." Not during the 1,000 years, when the 1,000 years is over. Okay? "And shall go out to deceive the nations." Well, we saw that in Isaiah 14. We see that was true concerning the man of sin. That was his desire. And so it is here. Satan will go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. "And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city." Now that's not the Zionist state of Israel or Jerusalem now. And that's not Old Covenant Jerusalem. Old Covenant Jerusalem was Mystery Babylon. Yeah, you heard me right. Old Covenant Jerusalem was Mystery Babylon. She was the harlot. That was not the beloved city. This is talking about the Lord's people, the believers, the Christians, the New Jerusalem being attacked. You say, well, the New Jerusalem doesn't show up till Revelation 21. No, that's not true. It's not chronological that way, but let's not get into that. I'm not here for that reason. I just want you to see the principle. So here's Satan gathering together the nations, deceiving them, encircling God's people, the beloved city, but we're told fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. So the Lord puts a stop to it, and then we're told that the devil that deceived them was cast in a lake of fire and brimstone, and then he's judged and destroyed. But once again, we have Satan desiring to gather the nations, consolidate power to promote anti-Christianity. Well, what do we have happening now? My opinion, we have the nations being gathered together, attempting to consolidate global political power in order to promote evil, which will be at the expense of the people of the earth. And our leaders in the United States are as guilty as anybody else. Well, maybe I shouldn't say as anybody else, but maybe they're more guilty because to whom much is given, much is required. And God gave this nation a lot more light than he did, say, Red China. As bad as Red China is, we're more culpable. So, I mean, not yesterday, but the last edition here of the Victory Hour on YouTube, I showed you the satellites that Elon Musk had been putting into orbit. Let's see. Let me show you this again. This is from the Telegraph in the UK. Now, I put that up. See all those dots? You see that? Every single one of those dots represents one of the satellites that Elon Musk and SpaceX has put up into the sky. Now, there are competitors to space. This isn't about his competitors. This is just him. You know how much space junk is above us, over our heads? Well, that's what's up now. And they're going up fast and furious. Now, this is all a portrait of, it's just an example of the conglomeration of power. I've been saying, look, 1984 is here in 2022. We are going through a revolution, and we have to put a stop to it. So there's Elon Musk's satellites, and it's supposed to give cell phone service to people in far-flung places and make the world just a little more connected. You know, it's like, well, that's okay. It's a business model. Yeah, but do you think he got permission for low-orbit satellites to fill the sky just for his commercial purposes? Oh, no. These satellites have been weaponized, and they will be weaponized, and that's why the governments are on board of doing this. Let me see. Let me read. I got like 3 articles here. Here's an article from foreignpolicy.com. Foreignpolicy.com. It's entitled, and this is from May of this year, it's entitled How Elon Musk Starlink Got Battle-Tested in Ukraine. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals en route. That's what Elon Musk tweeted back in February. Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals en route. But further on down we read, Ukraine's aerial reconnaissance force has used Starlink to connect directly to drones that have knocked out numerous Russian tanks, mobile command centers, and other military vehicles. Understand, all these satellites, it's not that they have weapons on them. They don't have lasers and they're shooting from outer space. But this blanket of satellites enables the governments that have use of them to pinpoint the coordinates of anybody with a smartphone, a smart TV, a smart refrigerator, a smart anything, a so-called smart. It's not too swift. Look at 1984 is here. And that means that what happens is, so in Ukraine, those satellites put up by Elon Musk can get the coordinates of Russian military assets, and those coordinates can be transmitted to the Ukraine, who transmits them to a drone, and that drone will shoot on those military assets of Russia. So it's using these satellites to pinpoint target kills of anybody, anywhere, with any kind of technology on them. Well, that's pretty much the whole world. You have a cell phone in your pocket. You could be walking down the street. There's all sorts of people that have the ability to just fly a drone overhead and take you out. And you never see it coming. It'll come from up on high. You'll never see it coming. Dangerous world we're living in now. Ukraine's digital transformation minister reported there are more than 10,000 Starlink terminals. More than 10,000 Starlink terminals are now operating in Ukraine. That's 10,000 just in Ukraine. That picture I showed you, they're all over the world. Well, there's 10,000 in Ukraine. In fact, the last I heard, there was 12,000. A Ukrainian soldier identified as Dima, his last name was withheld, told journalist David Patrick Karakos, quote, Starlink, here's a Ukrainian soldier who's speaking from the battlefield. He says, Starlink is what changed the war in Ukraine's favor. Russia went out of its way to blow up all of our communications. Now they can't. And we thought all those satellites were going up just so you could talk to Aunt Ginny on the other side of the world. No, that's more of a cover than the primary purpose, in my opinion. There is way too much power in this technology to have it blanketing, and it's just unbelievable. And we're told later in the article, contrary to SpaceX's claims, the U.S. government is paying for a substantial portion of Starlink terminals sent to Ukraine. Now listen to this. It's unbelievable. While Musk grabs the spotlight, competitors to Starlink, to SpaceX, and these Starlink satellites, competitors are also planning satellite-based internet services. In early April, Amazon announced it had secured freight capacity on as many as 83 rocket launches as part of Project Kuiper, Amazon's own initiative to provide global and broadband internet via satellite. It was the largest commercial procurement of launch services in history. Amazon will compete directly with Starlink and to a lesser degree OneWeb, another satellite operator, putting a large flotilla into orbit. Remember, those pictures I showed you, that was just Elon Musk satellites. Now we've got Amazon and other companies. And they'll have the ability to send coordinates to drones. So those drones can kill, well, whoever has some technology on them. Later on in the article, unsurprisingly, China has announced its own state-sponsored plan to build and launch a constellation of 13,000 LEO satellites. And it is likely to limit the use of foreign satellite networks by Chinese citizens. So the Chinese citizens will not be using, Elon Musk satellites. Oh, no. China's going to bully the world. You got to use ours if you want to play ball with us. And so this is the arms race in space. And everybody laughed at Donald Trump when he talked about Space Force, and this is the new frontier. Well, he's crazy. He's nuts. He knew what he was talking about. The liars in politics. You see, they don't care what happens to us as long as they can crush the opposition. And then in Newsweek, this is from Newsweek. I'm illustrating the point I'm trying to make here. A Chinese military news outlet has expressed concern over SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet network because of alleged strategic benefits it could provide to the U.S. military. Well, yeah. The concerns were outlined in an article published last week by China Military Online, the official English language news website of the Chinese Armed Forces. The article states that SpaceX has an ambition to use the Starlink satellite internet service, quote, for military purposes, and that this should put the international community on high alert. And to make a long story short, the article goes on to say China is building technology to take out Elon Musk's satellites. Space Wars. This is all about power. It's all about power. You know, what do I have? I'm asking the question. Why are we going in this insane direction that we've been talking about? I mean, exposing our children to drag queens, attempting to pervert them sexually in their youth, vaccinating children with COVID vaccines before they're 5 years old, closing down the nation to destroy us, and now we're being pushed to get rid of fossil fuels. And America is just going to have to go down the tube because there's a new world order to be had. And the shutdown of the First Amendment and the wokeness and political correctness and no diversity of opinion, the liberals were always lying to you about that. They don't believe in it because they can't stand on their own arguments, and they know it. We have liars ruling over us now. And I mean President Biden. You say that's not fair to say as a Christian. It's the exact truth. Remember what John the Baptist said to Herod? John the Baptist spoke right to Herod's face and said, you shouldn't have your brother Philip's wife. And Herod had John's head cut off. That was John the Baptist, the greatest of all the prophets, according to Jesus. And he told those political leaders the way that it was. The evangelical community gets you to believing, oh, we're to pray for our leaders and speak well of them. Not when they're evil. We should pray for them. We should pray for their salvation, that they would turn from wickedness to righteousness, and that Christ would do a work. But if they're going to continue to abuse and run roughshod over the weak and the people and the poor, then may God put a stop to them. Because I don't think we have it in us to do it. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. We're not made of the same stuff we used to be made of. But you never know. Circumstances could push us to that place. You know, let's see, I got it on my phone. The World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum some time ago put out an ad. And the first picture, if you go to YouTube, you can find it. Just type in World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing and be happy. You'll own nothing and be happy. And try not to find all the people commenting on it. Try to find the ad itself, which is only like 2 or 3 minutes long. It's just an advertisement put out by the World Economic Forum. The first picture shows a smiling millennial. Oh, he looks so pleasant. And then the caption reads underneath him, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Then it goes to a picture of the Earth with the sun rising out in outer space. And it says, 8 predictions for the world in 2030. This is the World Economic Forum. The next picture looks like maybe it's New York. The city scene looks like it's New York. The U.S. won't be the world-leading superpower. There you go. There's the World Economic Forum. By 2030, the U.S. will not be the world-leading economic superpower. And in their view, that's time to celebrate. You in favor of that? I'm not. The next scene shows a drone dropping a package off at someone's front door. It says, whatever you want, you'll rent. And it will be delivered by drone. Wait a minute. Whatever you want, you'll rent? See, you'll own nothing and be happy. You got that? You'll own nothing and be happy. The next picture shows a close-up shot of some red meat. Some beef or steak. Actually looks pretty good. But the words, the captions say, you'll eat much less meat. And then the next scene shows a forest scene with the sun sparkling through the trees, and it says, an occasional treat, speaking of meat, an occasional treat, not a staple, for the good of the environment and our health. So no more eating meat. We got to stop the testosterone. We can't have that floating around in the stratosphere. No more power, superpower of the United States. Oh, and then we have a picture of all the flags. Looks like the flags outside the UN on top of poles. All the flags of different nations. And the flag that's front and center is the red communist Chinese flag. To its side, to its right, is the American flag. But it's pretty obvious that the red Chinese communist flag is the center one, the one that you focus on. And it partially blocks the American flag as it's flying in the wind. This is all designed. And the caption reads, a handful of countries will dominate. He said, well, the American flag is fairly prominent there. Well, yeah, fairly. We can see which flag is prominent. The red communist Chinese. World Economic Forum. 2030. What did it say in that previous block? The U.S. won't be the world-leading superpower. Oh, I know. We can see that from the placement of your flags. Running out of time. The next picture says, we'll have to do a better job of welcoming and integrating refugees. And it shows a picture of people with signs in the street, welcome refugees. Basically, that's saying open borders. No nations. That's what that's about. Then it shows a parched earth with all cracks. Looks like almost a lunar surface. It looks like a dry bed in the desert. And the caption reads, 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. Now look, I'm out of time. I can't finish this. I'm almost done with it. But you say, why are you reading this? What is the World Economic Forum? I'll have to continue this Thursday. I will explain to you the powers that be that are behind this, behind the World Economic Forum. And it won't make you happy unless you're an insane radical. We'll continue this on Thursday. My context is, I have to look at what's happening. We are going through something huge. And I have to look at this as a Christian minister and through the lens of Scripture. And I'm explaining, how is it we can be so naive? Are we naive? Or have we become evil? Like all the nations. I believe there's a righteous remnant in this nation that wants something better, something good, and something wholesome, something that's right and true. But we're a minority. We better speak up now. We better take action now, because the time is short. Because they're going for the gold. You ought to think about that when it comes to midterms. You want to keep giving this administration power, you'll be forwarding this. Joe Biden says so. Do you realize that? Well, look, I'm out of time. I have to stop here. Tune in Thursday. This is Jim Gallagher, reminding you in the words of our blessed Lord and Savior, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.